Again, welcome to this webcast on FeedBurner migration. I'm really grateful for your time today, whether you're watching the webcast live or the recording online. My name is Phil Hollows, and despite my accent and the fact that I have a cup of tea in my hand, FeedBlitz itself is a US-based company, and we are headquartered just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Today, I'm not only going to take you through the steps to migrate your FeedBurner audience safely away from FeedBurner, but I'm also going to share some of the best practices that we've learned, having done this thousands of times to millions of RSS and email readers that were powered by FeedBurner. So stick around, we'll show you some slides and some live demos of how easy and simple this is, so you can do it, you can be confident that you can make it through and do this safely. Now, the most important thing that we've learned in terms of safeguarding your readership and what's happened in the past with FeedBurner is that bloggers and companies have accidentally ceded control of their audience to FeedBurner itself. And that's because if you look at this slide here, the bad URLs, by which I mean where you've been asking subscribers to subscribe to, are things like feeds.feedburner.com/example. And the reason why that's bad is because when you tell people to follow you on some third party's domain like feedburner.com and indeed feedblitz.com, what's happening is that you're giving that domain control over your audience and you're losing it. So what we want to help you do right now is move away from a feeds.feedburner.com feed URL and move your audience as easily and as quickly and as safely as possible to a feed URL on your domain, whether it's example.com/feed or feeds.example.com/example. For both of those are feeds in your domain, and that way you can control who serves them and what services you use to serve them. And that's really, really important because we want you to go through this process because it can be kind of complicated just once. So you can still end up using a feed on your domain, but you can use a third-party service like FeedBlitz to serve it. And there are a number of ways you can do this through the redirections, plugins, and what's called a CNAME, which is what FeedBurner used to call my brand. And I'll take you through that later on in the show. But what we want to do right now is get your control of your audience, the one you've been building probably for years, back away from feedburner.com and onto your site, your domain, where we or any third-party service can actually get away to serving it. This is the best practice. This is where you need to end up. So even if you choose in the end not to stick with FeedBlitz, I'm going to suggest to you that no matter what, start a trial with FeedBlitz and use our tools and our processes and our manual and this slideshow, in fact, to help you get your readers away from FeedBurner as quickly and as safely as possible. And the reason why I'm going to suggest that is because only FeedBlitz has the unique product features, including the ability to reach into FeedBurner itself and grab your settings and grab the majority of your audience automatically. Not only that, but we've done this thousands of times. So feeds with as few as 5 to 10 subscribers, and for feeds with hundreds of thousands of subscribers for power bloggers like Seth Godin and Brian Clark over at Copyblogger. So we have unparalleled experience in making this happen and making any company, any organization of any size successful. Now, to do that, we actually have the migration guide, which is online at feedblitz.com. It's a free download. That has ended up to be quite a large document. I mean, this is complex stuff, and as we build our experience, we feed that back into that manual. And so it's step by step. It's very, very detailed, and right now it's over 60 pages. Don't be daunted by that. It's thorough. It's meant to help you eliminate the traps for the unwary and fall into those traps that we've had to help people out from before. So stick with it. With this webcast and that manual together, you will be successful. You can do it yourself, and we also have third-party resources you can outsource this process to as well. So, and the other thing is, even if you're using a third-party email service and not FeedBlitz to power your mail, this process can actually work, and you can use our RSS migration service to bring your RSS subscribers over and then feed that into any mailing service you're using, as well as FeedBlitz. And that gives you some interesting opportunities, because some of the things that we can do with a feed, like for example adding ads for monetization, will actually fall through and downstream into your emails, and you can actually make money that way once you make the switch. We'd love to win your business, but that can be another topic for another day, and that is not the subject of this particular webcast. So let's get to the nitty-gritty. And this slide is really one of the most important ones in terms of setting up and getting ready to make this switch safely. Please, 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 number one, do not delete your current FeedBurner feed. This is vital. You need to get in, and we need to access to that feed as best we can. If you don't have login, or if you have deleted your feed, well, we can help you with that as well. I'll cover that later. But if you have access to your FeedBurner feed, please do not delete it right now. For the purposes of migration, you need to have access to that. Secondly, if you're a podcaster and you're using FeedBurner to drive and measure metrics for your podcaster, do not resubmit your podcast to the iTunes store. Okay, this is really, really important. If you do that, iTunes is incredibly fussy, and you'll probably lose your existing audience. We have these processes and these switches in place to help iTunes find the right feed and not lose your audience en route. So just leave it there. Do not touch the Apple Store. Okay, otherwise it gets to be a whole lot more complicated, and we do not want that. We want to keep things simple as we protect your audience and move them safely away from FeedBurner. With luck, you have your FeedBurner login credentials. They're typically your Google Gmail or Google Apps login. If you can't find it, try the password recovery techniques that Google offers at the feedburner.google.com domain. Keep with it. It may, for some of you, be a very, very old email address that is going to be the one that is the key to success. If you can't get access to your FeedBurner login, it does complicate things somewhat. I will get to that on a later slide. But ideally, if you do have access, that's the way to do it. If you're going to plan on migrating from FeedBurner, you do have that login. The other thing you'll need to do before you start is disable two-factor authentication at Google temporarily for the duration of this process. It's the only way that we, FeedBlitz, can get in to access your account safely. And you can always re-enable two-factor once that's done and the process has finished. And finally, and obviously, you should have admin access to your blog. You should be at the dashboard in a separate tab on your browser when you're starting this process, and make sure you're at the feed settings area where we can quickly and promptly make the changes you need to safeguard your audience and switch serving to FeedBlitz, even though we're going to switch subscribers, as I said before, to a feed URL on your domain. All right, so the question I think everybody has when they're thinking about migrating away from FeedBurner is, will I lose any subscribers? And the short answer is, we can do this and we can help you do this, and you won't lose any subscriber who has a pulse and who is still interested in hearing from you. See, that's the good news. The challenging part is, how easy is that going to be? And that varies depending on your current setup. And this slide basically is to try and explain some of the details behind that and the degree of difficulty you're going to have in moving away from FeedBurner. So let's look at the feed migration difficulty chart. If you've got a FeedBurner URL on your site, that's the first column. If you're using redirection, that's the second one. That means, are you using a CNAME or a plugin to change where feeds are served to? And the third column obviously is, well, what's your risk of losing some readers en route? So if you don't use FeedBurners for RSS at all, then obviously your risk of losing RSS subscribers is next to none. But you can still use FeedBlitz. You can still actually have us serve your feed, add value to it, like the inline comments, advertising, related posts, and things like that. So there's good reason to have us serve your feed through, and you can set up that way as well. If you haven't mentioned FeedBurner on your site, and there are actually two places where you might have mentioned a FeedBurner URL. One will be visibly on the page on an RSS icon, and one's going to be hidden in what's called the RSS auto discovery tag. And that may or may not show up in your browser with a little RSS icon lights up in your address bar when you go to your home page. Now, if you just have your own URL listed there and not something at feedburner.com, and you're using a redirection like a plugin or a CNAME or MyBrand to have FeedBurner serve the feed on your URL, then the good news is this is going to be really a painless process. All you really are going to end up doing once you defined your site to FeedBlitz is change where that redirection points. and all of a sudden your RSS readers will be updated in one fell swoop. And that's how we migrated Brian Clark, a copy blogger, and Seth Godin, and countless others. And those two guys alone had 6 figures of RSS subscribers, hundreds of thousands of RSS readers, and we moved them in a matter of seconds by making that redirection switch. And that's awesome. Almost everybody is saved in one fell swoop. There's a few left over, and we'll get to that on a later slide. But basically, that's the easiest place to go. So if you're using a redirection technology, a plugin, a CNAME, HD access files, you're going to move everybody really, really quickly, really easily, and all people that you care about will come across in one fell swoop. If, however, on the next line down over here, if, however, you've mentioned the FeedBurner URL either on your website or in the auto discovery tag, then things are going to get a little complicated, because that means you've lost some subscribers to the feedburner.com domain, which, if you remember, you don't control. And so getting them back for email is easy, but for RSS subscribers, anybody subscribed directly to a feed at feedburner.com/URL is going to have to resubscribe. And depending on how many folks you have over there directly subscribing to feedburner.com as opposed to yoursite.com, determines how many subscribers you're going to lose. Now, the important part here is don't freak out, because FeedBlitz actually has unique capabilities to actually really help you coerce those readers over. And that's why we're going to make the claim, if they have a pulse and they're interested, they are going to come over, and I'll show you how. Okay, so you've got more risk there because some portion of your readership is going to have to come over and resubscribe. Now, the worst case scenario is basically if every single feed URL on your website is a feedburner.com URL. And the good news is that you're not alone, and hundreds of thousands of bloggers have done this accidentally when we really weren't, in a sense, so aware of the risks, and nobody thought that actually FeedBurner would be going away. So unfortunately, that has the greatest risk and is the slowest process, because your email readership can come over really easily. That's not a problem. We can just import them. The problem is with the rest of the subscribers who are subscribing via an RSS reader. Those guys are all going to have to resubscribe, and because they're all on that feedburner.com URL, you have the greatest risk of some of them not coming over. It's also going to be the slowest process because, again, they're all over there. Now, using the same technology I mentioned earlier, we are going to help you get those guys over. We're going to be very persistent and insistent to help coerce them to subscribing to your domain, to bring them back into the fold, but that is going to take time. Anecdotally, it can take between 7 to 10 posts once you've made the switch for the majority of that readership to come on. And you know what? So the more you post, the more likely your readership will come over, and the quicker it's going to be. So when you're thinking about the process of migrating from FeedBurner, one of the things you really should be thinking about if you have a feedburner.com URL that you've been publicizing is, okay, I need to pick up the pace of my posting so that I can pick up the pace of the reminding, so I can accelerate the transition of RSS readers from FeedBurner back onto my domain and under my control. For email, it's really very much more of a black and white situation. If you can access your FeedBurner login, and yes, we can pull your email readership right over. There's no need for anybody to resubscribe, and no emails will be sent to them. It's going to be seamless. It's going to be fast, and we're the only organization that can do that without importing and exporting. So there's really no problem, and 95% of your email subscribers will come on in one fell swoop. We'll automate the whole thing for you, and it's awesome, and it's capable, and it's easy. If you don't have your login to FeedBurner, you're stuck, unfortunately, because you can't get at the email list. All right. So in that case, your email subscribers will also have to read the RSS migration message that we serve, and they're all going to have to resubscribe to. And there's nothing, unfortunately, that anybody can do about that. So if you don't have your FeedBurner login and you're using FeedBurner for your blog email subscriptions, it's worth the time and the hassle to try and figure out your login information if you don't currently have it, because that is the key to safeguarding your email subscriber base. So give it a go. Sometimes you can, I've had people say they couldn't find it, then a week later they went, I remembered, and they made it work. So you know what? there's no deadline right now while I'm in late June while we're doing this. But you know what? If there's no deadline, think about it, give it a go. Worst comes to the worst, we'll help them come over anyway. But if you can figure out that login, if you don't have it, it's worthwhile having that attempt. Again, if you have the login, you're golden. Things are going to be great. Okay, so there's a lot to think about here. With luck, you're going to fall into the category of, hey, I'm all redirections all the time. This is going to be easy. Let's look now at what's involved and actually making the move, and actually doing it. There are fundamentally 4 steps to FeedBurner freedom and safeguarding your audience, protecting them, and regaining control of them. 1, you're going to set up your feed at FeedBlitz. So we're going to put all the moving parts together at feedblitz.com so we're ready to receive that audience. The second step is then to tell your website, configure your blog to use the FeedBlitz components. When that happens, and we have some unique testing capabilities to make sure all the moving parts are working correctly, then you can migrate your FeedBurner RSS readers. If you're using FeedBurner for your blog's email, you can import them, and then you can delete your FeedBurner RSS feed if you want to. And I'll talk about that at the end of this webcast. There are some reasons why you might not want to, and some reasons why you might. And so that's definitely an optional step. We want to get those people off of feedburner.com and onto your domain as fast as we can. So what I'm going to do now is show you how this works in real life. All right. So the first thing you're going to need to do is create a FeedBlitz account and log into it. And if you haven't done so already, start your trial. It's a 30-day trial. You will need a valid credit card to start it. And the reason we do that is to make sure, first of all, that you have the ability to pay us when the trial is up. And second of all, every single FeedBlitz trial, every single FeedBlitz trial is completely unlimited and fully supported. You can mail as many people as you want during the trial period. And that's very compelling. We give you complete flexibility. The credit card, it turns out, is practically the best anti-abuse system we've discovered on all of our years of doing this. So bear with us. We'll just validate the card, and then you can move on. I am not going to show you that part of the setup right now. The rest, when we do the live demos, it will assume you have a valid trial up and running, and we're going to just use FeedBlitz once that's happened. The process then becomes very simple. You're going to tell FeedBlitz about your FeedBurner account. We're going to find our FeedBurner feeds. When we do that, we're going to pick the feed at FeedBurner we wish to migrate over. Many of you will have more than one FeedBurner feed, and yes, you can merge multiple FeedBurner RSS feeds into one FeedBlitz feed and one FeedBlitz mailing list. That might be a great help for you if you want to simplify your RSS architecture. Once you've made sure you've got the right thing, we're going to move that forward. We're going to import the email subscribers. We're going to configure your FeedBurner feed. And the interesting thing about this and FeedBlitz's unique technologies is that we're not just going to move the basic setups like where to read your feed. We're also going to bring in all of your settings that you had in FeedBurner and set up the FeedBlitz analogs here. So for example, if you've uploaded a logo for your FeedBurner emails, we'll bring that over. And we'll format your emails so that they look almost exactly the same to your readership. That way, they won't suffer from kind of like a graphic design shock when you start to use FeedBlitz to mail your readers. You can do a lot more with FeedBlitz's email than just what FeedBurner does, and we'll add some extra goodies at the end, for example, like more up-to-date social sharing icons. But fundamentally, we'll pull over everything like the sender's name, your subject line settings will all be migrated over. Your schedule will come over. Okay, your splices will come over. And that's important because we want to minimize the amount of work that you have to do during this process. We want to make it as clean and simple and as quick as possible for you. And we're the only service that can reach into your account and populate the settings directly from your FeedBurner settings. Once that's done, we'll present you with a screen that says, hey, we did it. Let's check that everything worked out properly. And you can set up FeedBlitz email delivery if you want to. Again, if you're not using FeedBlitz for your email services, that's great. You can still use a FeedBlitz feed to feed a third-party email service. We'd love to have the chance to win that business, but that's okay if you don't. We can work. And if you do use FeedBlitz just for RSS, our monthly minimum is $1.49 a month, which is, as we know, next to nothing. And we're also running a basic annual plan for $15. So it's really easy and it's really capable, and you can change those plans and to use email anytime you like. Okay. Once you finish with this step, you're ready to turn your site over to FeedBlitz and to have it starting talking to us and ready to move forward to switch over. So let's look at these steps in real life on a blog. Okay, so we're going to set up FeedBlitz for FeedBurner migration. This is for a new account. And basically, this is the FeedBlitz account, the FeedBurner account of an associate of FeedBlitz's, and we're going to play with her blog and move these guys over. We're going to move over RSS feeds and I believe a small number of email subscribers. And I'm just going to show you how easy it is. We've just set up a new trial. We're going to add the first site. We're going to basically tell FeedBlitz about her site. And we're going to do this from using FeedBurner. So we're going to click the FeedBurner login button here. All right. So here we are. This is the screen you see, step 1 of 3, getting access to the FeedBurner account. And by the way, if you haven't yet downloaded it, at this point, getting the FeedBurner migration guide manual is a great idea because you know what? It's built out of so much experience that we've had that it's really worth doing simply to avoid the traps for the unwary that trip people up. So it's very thorough, it's very detailed. Don't be scared. Download it and then you can basically read along at home. All right, I've entered the password information. Let's see if I can get into FeedBurner from FeedBlitz. Yes, we can. And we see that this user has exactly one FeedBurner feed. Many of you will have more than that, but we're going to pick just one feed. We're also going to create an email list at FeedBlitz from any email subscribers that are there. That's great. That's good. We want to bring those people over. And remember, when we bring those people over, that list over, we're going to configure it according to the current FeedBurner settings. So the logos will come over, your font colors will come over, your schedule will come over, and all the other settings associated with email. So we're going to click continue. And while we're here, FeedBlitz is saying, hey, we've got advertising. Do you want to make some money? Well, heck yes, let's make a little money. And we're going to put the ad into the between the first and second paragraphs of each post. That makes it really effective because it's kind of in line. So it's highly likely to be read and looked at and interacted with. So it's going to monetize better. All right. We've reviewed. We've picked the feed. We're going to create a list. Let's go. And when I click that, what happens is FeedBlitz is now going out to FeedBurner, verifying the feed and pulling all of the FeedBurner data associated with this particular feed. Not only the email information about logos and starting the import of the list, but also things like splice settings, the URI that you called the FeedBurner feed, all sorts of other goodies, so that by the time we come back, we've created the FeedBlitz feed to fundamentally parallel your FeedBurner settings. And here it is, we've created the feed. A couple of things to notice. There's a full feed. We've also got a mobile flavor. We serve a very lightweight, fast, low bandwidth version for mobile devices. And the left-hand side, the navigation has been populated. And now what we want to do is start with step 2, the site integration instructions. And we'll proceed with that in just a second. So now you've seen, using a real WordPress blog and a real FeedBlitz account, how easy it is to set everything up here. That's the good news. Now, if you're a podcaster, I'm just going to pause here and say, let's be careful, because the iTunes store is really just another RSS reader. We're just going to point it to your FeedBlitz feed, but it's really, really, really fussy. You need to be careful. Okay, so if you are a podcaster, pause. Here is what you want to do before you move forward to the next steps. And if you're not a podcaster, just bear with us for 60 seconds and we'll be right back to you. Okay, so if you are a podcaster, what you will have now set up using FeedBlitz and our AutoCast features is the FeedBlitz equivalent of your podcast. What you're going to do is launch your personal copy of iTunes on your laptop or your iPad, whatever it is, however wherever you've got iTunes installed, and you're going to subscribe directly to the FeedBlitz feed. Okay, what we're going to do here is fundamentally check that your FeedBlitz feed is set up correctly and that iTunes itself can read it. Okay, use that using the File Subscribe to Podcast menu option. You enter in the FeedBlitz feed URL that you created in the, basically based on the previous screens. Okay, and then iTunes will go and pull it down, and you should see recent episodes. You should see artwork downloading. You should see your episodes downloading, and when you see that, you know that the feed is working and that it's okay for iTunes. Right? If there's a problem, go back, revisit, or contact FeedBlitz tech support at support@feedblitz.com. Once it works, however, what we're going to do then is change the autocast setting in FeedBlitz to redirect iTunes to talk to the source feed in your domain. And this is unique to FeedBlitz, and what's special about it is this. iTunes is going to read the FeedBlitz feed via FeedBurner, which is of course what it's currently talking to. And iTunes has a special, what's called a tag, a special part of a podcast feed that tells iTunes to not look over at FeedBurner, but look somewhere else. We're going to tell it to look at your site. And when that happens, iTunes is going to be looking at the feed on your site, even though FeedBlitz will be serving it. And that way you're going to regain control over your iTunes audience and your iTunes podcast, because it will be on your domain, okay, without having to resubmit to the Apple Store and without losing control of any of your podcast subscribers. It takes about 48 hours once this process starts. So for heaven's sake, do not resubmit your podcast to iTunes. Do validate that it works using these steps here, okay? And then move on to the next phase of the process, which is to integrate with your site, okay? All right, for those of us who are just regular bloggers, on to step 2. So remember that we set up FeedBlitz, and now what we're going to do is update the site to use the feeds we've just set up. Again, it's fairly simple. You're going to have to dive into your site's dashboard, and that will vary depending on your platform that you're using. I'm going to show you with WordPress, but we can do this successfully with a wide variety of other platforms, including, for example, Blogger. Typepad is a very easy integration with us right now, and any other service. It gets to be more involved depending on the service, but if you're with Blogger, Typepad, WordPress, or a platform that has HT access or built-in redirect capabilities, this is going to be super easy for you. So you're going to change your RSS feeds redirection, so to make sure that if anybody goes to your feed on your domain, that they actually end up being served that feed by FeedBlitz. Confirming the process has worked is really easy on FeedBlitz too, because we have special tools to help validate your settings. You're also going to disable FeedBurner's email services if you're using them and you've brought the email readership to us, because we don't want to mail your readership twice. That's going to feel very aggressive to them. They're going to feel they're being spammed. We don't want that. So we're going to stop FeedBurner and just use FeedBlitz for your email services. We're going to update the email subscription form on your website, again if you're using FeedBlitz for your blog email subscription service, because we want to have new subscribers and new visitors come to your new site. And finally then, we're going to make sure all the moving parts are working. When you finish this part of things, the good news is not only is FeedBlitz integrated with your website, you actually have control of every single new subscriber from here on in. And better yet, any subscribers left on FeedBurner at this point in time will be getting the FeedBlitz version of your feed. And that's important, because that's how we get them off of FeedBurner, through our resubscribe migration message technology. All right, a lot of talking, a lot of words. Let's see how this works in practice. All right, well, that was pretty easy so far. We've set up FeedBlitz. That was pretty painless. Let's move on. Okay, now what we see is what FeedBlitz knows about the site that we're hooking into. Okay, so look, it's telling us we've created a list, but we need to remember to disable FeedBurner's mailing capabilities, and we'll get to that in just a second. And we know that we're from a WordPress blog, so what I'm going to do is click to get to the latest version of the plugin that we need to implement on that blog. All right, I've already logged into the dashboard for this site, so this is easy. We're going to install FeedBlitz FeedSmart. Yes, we do. And that's going to go, okay. We're going to activate the plugin. And that's done. Okay, now we're going to set up the plugins and remove all the old FeedBurner stuff. Right, so there's the FeedBlitz FeedSmart plugin, which we want to activate. Here's something called FeedBurner. This is in fact the old FeedSmith plugin. Right, we need to excise that. Okay, we don't want to do this. So to do the integration completely, we need to go to plugins. We need to find the FeedBurner feature that we need to deactivate it. Okay, it's done. And what's this? A better FeedBurner widget. I know what that is, so we'll come to that in a moment. Right now we need to get FeedBlitz FeedSmart and get to settings. Okay, here's the feed URL. Let's head back to FeedBlitz and find what it is. It's this. Copy. Paste. We're not going to do comments. And if you notice here, I'll scroll down a little bit, the FeedBlitz Feed Smart settings, this is the basics that Feedsmith does. We can do a lot more fun stuff than the old Feedsmith stuff. For example, we can create category feeds for individual categories. This particular site doesn't have any. We can exclude categories. We can do all the feeds. It's a whole lot of good stuff, a lot more flexibility in terms of redirections, but this is all we want to do. So scroll to the bottom, save the changes. This was written by Andy Bailey, guy behind Comment Love. It's a great feed, and we're happy to have Andy part of the greater FeedBlitz team. All right, so that's done. And now FeedBlitz, any call to the feed on this site is being redirected to FeedBlitz. Now let's just check on our other plugins. We want to make sure that we have nothing else talking to FeedBurner. Let's have a look at the settings for the it's a widget. It's going to be a widget. So we've deactivated Feedsmith, and we don't seem to have anything else that we worry about here that's talking about FeedBurner. So let's just do a couple of things here just to make sure we've got the site working properly. First of all, we want to go to the theme. All right. Now, depending on the theme you have installed, there may be options relating to the feeds. If you have, for example, Genesis or Thesis, you want to take out and remove completely all feed redirection and all mentions of FeedBurner, okay? So just remove them. Do not replace them with the FeedBlitz feed. Just remove every mention of FeedBurner. Here we have some widgets. I'm just going to take a peek at the widgets here. Okay, social media widget. Okay, general settings, social networking, social news and feeds. Aha. Well, we don't have an RSS. We have a RSS URL. It's FeedBlitz's. We're not going to change any settings here. We just want to make sure that we've got rid of FeedBurner right now. So we're not going to play with that. RSS. Oh, yes, we definitely want to play with that. And here is the RSS feed URL there. What we're going to do is replace that with Lindsay Bell. Notice I'm not putting the FeedBlitz feed URL in here. This is the source feed for the site. And the reason why we're doing that is because we want, remember, subscribers to come to your URL, even if we're serving it. We want you to own those subscribers. So that's that done. Okay, and that's pretty much it for now in terms of the integration. We set up the FeedBlitz Feed Smart. We've gotten rid of FeedBurner. We've updated anything that was talking about FeedBurner, either removed it or got it talking back to the source feed. We are pretty much good to go. Let's see what else FeedBlitz would like us to do. Okay. The mailing list. Let's head over to FeedBurner, and that's here we go. So this is FeedBurner. This is the feed. And we want to take out the email list, email subscriptions. This comes back, and we wish to deactivate them. All right, this makes sure that FeedBurner does not email the list we've just imported into FeedBlitz, because remember, we do not want to do that twice. That would suck for the subscribers. All right, so we have integrated FeedBlitz with the site. We have disabled the FeedBurner email. Now it's time to double check the work that we've done. I remember one of the things that I said was that FeedBlitz has these great tools. Okay, so we've done this step two. These great tools to check that we've got everything working. Okay, so here I'm going to click this first button. And let's see what FeedBlitz says. Success! We requested the source feed, and we were correctly redirected to the FeedBlitz feed. What that means is any user requesting this, and we want them to request this, we want you to own the feed users and subscribers, is being sent to the new FeedBlitz feed. That's okay. We want to serve your feed, which is why you're using us, but everybody can subscribe now to your own feed on your URL. So that's a great thing. We've got that working. Now let's verify the FeedBurner redirection. a little slightly different box. Right then, again successful. We found that when FeedBurner requests the feed, it is going to be correctly redirected to FeedBlitz. That's awesome. It means that we can now send the migration message to anybody left on the FeedBurner feed. The second thing we see here is that the punch-through test passed, and that means that when FeedBlitz requests the source feed, it itself grabs that source feed. It's not redirected back to itself, which means that the FeedBlitz feed will be as up-to-date as it possibly can be. Having passed those two tests, we can now go on and get the email code we need for this site. All right, and we're going to make it email only. We're going to have a quick, let's see what should I'm going to change this little text here. And we're going to have a little arrow. It's the strangest thing, but arrows on subscription forms make a huge difference. So we're going to put a little solid block here. Let's do that. All right, now we're good to go. Okay, here is the form code that we need. I'm going to copy that. What am I going to do with this? How do I do this? Okay, this is how you set it up in WordPress. Okay, we're going to go to actually the widgets menu. Come on, widgets. Widgets. Okay, now what's the better FeedBurner widget? No, we don't need that. That is the old FeedBurner form. This site is using a custom, so we're going to get rid of that. And what we're going to do is create a new text widget. Arbitrary text URL. There we go. Did I get in? Okay. No. I got to do this. I've got to drop it into the right area. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Text. Here we go. Up. Come on, come on. Up, up, up. Up, 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 up. Scroll, Phil, scroll. Nearly there. Push, everybody, push. Okay, here we go. Let's drop this into here. Where should we have it? Well, we want actually our email subscription to be above social media. There we go. All right. Finally, make sure this, by the way, this checkbox is off when you're doing this. We're going to slap in that code. Give it a nice little heading. Done. All right. Now let's see what we've got going on here. Back to blog. Refresh it. And get the latest news. Oh, let's get rid of that, shall we? Hang on. You know what? Although you're more than welcome to publicize FeedBlitz, you don't have to. Let's just replace that. Okay, so this is fun. You can configure this. You can do what it is you like with it. I'm just going to refresh this. And now it's done. There you go. Right, the preview's gone. There's the arrow. And you can, if you have a graphic designer, they can make this a lot prettier if you wish to. That's it. We are basically done. You can see these links all link through to FeedBlitz if you look at the thing down on the lower left, and that's great. We're going to track all the activity that this feed generates, and that is all there is to the integration. All right, so now we've seen that how to set up a site to use FeedBlitz. We've seen how to look at things like caching and theme settings to make sure we've found all of the places that FeedBurner was mentioned and cleaned that up. All the moving parts are working correctly except that there are still going to be some RSS subscribers on your FeedBurner URL. And if this is true, even if you're using a CNAME or FeedBurner's My Brand service to have FeedBurner serve a feed that was on your domain, because FeedBurner would publicize the FeedBurner URL on the browser-friendly page. So unfortunately, you're going to have a few left over who despite your best efforts, are going to be subscribed onto your FeedBurner.com URL. And if you didn't use a redirection technology, everybody who wasn't an email reader is probably going to still be on that feedburner.com URL. We need to get those guys over and back onto your domain. You have fundamentally three options. You can use FeedBlitz's unique migration message to migrate the remaining RSS readers still on FeedBurner. And obviously we think that's a good idea because that is the only way to coerce RSS readers directly following the feedburner.com feed URL off of that onto your own URL. And that migration message appears in two places. It actually will end up appearing in your FeedBurner RSS feed, and also when people start to click through, we'll actually serve that message to really work hard to get them to change their RSS reader subscription URL. The second option is to do nothing. You can just leave that FeedBurner feed and have it pull the FeedBlitz feed and just serve them a better quality feed. You're going to lose those readers as and when FeedBurner goes away, but for now that might just be the easiest option. You have to acknowledge when you do that you don't have control over that readership, and there's no support over at FeedBurner, but that's obviously one of your options. And finally, one option is to delete the FeedBurner feed altogether and basically go cold turkey. It's an option. I think it's a little harsh, and it's not without its risk. Obviously, once that FeedBurner feed goes away, you've lost that audience for good. I think that's the least favorable option. No matter what, and no matter how long you intend to stay with FeedBlitz, because we have the tools and technologies, we really do think we're the best option for you just to get people off of FeedBurner in the first place, and then for you to decide what to do with them later. We think you should absolutely set up the FeedBurner migration message, and I'll show you how to do that on the next screen. And what that will mean is you have the best hope of getting everybody with the foot pulse who's still following your feed off that feed and onto your new one, where you can grab them again. And what happens is when you switch that feature on at FeedBlitz is that we will tell anybody left on the FeedBurner feed, no matter how they're subscribing, that they need to resubscribe, change their readership, and come back into the fold. No matter what, once you've done this, you will have reclaimed your RSS feed from FeedBurner. Anybody on FeedBurner will be told repeatedly, consistently, and persistently to switch their readership. Those readers will move over time, but you've got to keep posting, you've got to keep reminding, and that's the key to success. So don't leave it too late, because if you only post once a week and you've got a few weeks left, then my goodness, you really don't have time. So start now, plan now, make it happen. The more you post, the faster the process is, and the more readers you will bring over. And that's an audience you've invested in. You want this to happen successfully. So let's see how that works in real life too. The last step. Okay, so now we have the FeedBlitz side of things set up. We've got the website integration set up. We've disabled FeedBurner emails, as you see here. Let's go and see actually what's going on with the FeedBurner feed itself. And you can see the FeedBurner feed by clicking on the little gray RSS icon here. And when you do that, we see, oh look, here's an ad from FeedBlitz now in this feed. Here is the content. If I keep scrolling down, here are the FeedBlitz social sharing icons we've added by default: Google+, Pinterest, Twitter, email, RSS, comments, and a Facebook like button. And also we've integrated comments into the feed itself. And the idea here is that we're going to increase engagement with your audience by basically moving comments into the feed as they appear. And so already this FeedBurner feed, which is now talking to FeedBlitz via the source site, is a much more richer experience, much more engaging experience for users. And by the way, it's also earning money. Here we have an automatic related stories link that FeedBlitz has also created based on the information we have in the feed. And here is that particular article. Again, there's an ad, and let's see again, more comments, more related stories. And so this feed is just a much more engaging, richer environment for users. So win, it's working. All right, so as you know, we say, you need to migrate the other subscribers, and the way that you do that is by using what we call the FeedBlitz migration message. So let's head over back to, this is not there, we need to be in here. Okay, we need to finish the play here now. So this is where we left off in the FeedBlitz setup. With the form. We're going to click the continue button, and here we have the mailing list that we created. Okay, and it's got a grand total right now of I think 9 subscribers. Let's have a peek. 10 subscribers. Okay, and we can go ahead and customize that and brand that. We're not going to do that. What I want to do is show you quickly how to set up the migration message to get everybody on FeedBurner going back to you. And typically speaking, what I'd suggest is that you actually first post about the migration before you get a little coercive. But for the sake of this demo, let's just get going. So I've clicked the feed in the left-hand margin. Now I've clicked settings. And what I'm going to do is click the FeedBurner migration compatibility section. Here is the FeedBurner migration message. It's not enabled right now, and we want to send people, when they resubscribe, to the feed source lindsaybellonline.com/feed. I'm not going to play with any of the other settings. I'm going to use the default, and I'm going to save the changes. And when that comes back, all right, changes are now saved. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flip into FeedBurner. We're going to click the troubleshoot eyes. Again, this is just for the sake of the demo. Normally this will happen automatically. I'm going to force a resync of FeedBurner. That's done. And now if I go to the feed, here is what we get. This is how we constantly remind people to resubscribe. We've moved update your reader. There's the feed link. And remember, we want RSS subscribers who are on FeedBurner to get the very latest news onto your domain, onto your feed URL, even though we're serving it. This is what this does. And the benefit of doing it this way is when a new post appears in their reader, because remember, we're keeping the post titles here, right? They're going to go, oh, a new post. They're going to click through, and they're going to get this message. And it doesn't take very long for them to really want to resubscribe because they get really tired of these horrible yellow boxes. Here's the other thing, though, that we do. If you click through, before we send them to the article, we're also going to ask them to resubscribe, right? We're going to repeatedly ask them to change, and it's a very effective way of making it happen. And now what we're going to do is click through to the post, and you can actually get there from here. But the point is, this is how we do it. And here we are back to the post that we were clicking through to. All right, so that is it. All we have to do. And now this FeedBurner migration is complete. Done and done. FeedBlitz setup, website integration complete. FeedBurner users remaining are now being reminded to change their subscriptions. It's all over. This is all you have to do now. It's just hurry up and wait. Finally, once you've got the migration message in place, well, do you want to keep that FeedBurner feed around at all? Okay, so there are a couple of options here. You might want to delete it once your audience has migrated. Once the number of people moving over from FeedBurner has plateaued, what you got left over at FeedBurner is just the people who aren't interested, or for whatever reason no longer following your feed. At that point, you might want to get rid of it, and that's certainly a valid choice. When you delete a FeedBurner feed, however, a couple of things happen. Once it goes away for good, after 30 days, you're going to lose all of your history, and all of the links, if you had link tracking enabled, are going to go away as well, which means that anybody going back to an old post in their RSS reader and clicking through will suddenly find they're unable to click through. They will probably go back to your website to find it, but it's going to add an extra couple of steps. So if you want to keep the old links live, that's a good reason to keep your FeedBurner around. The other thing you might want to think about is that when you delete a FeedBurner feed, that feed, once it's gone from you, becomes available for somebody else to use. And in the short time that's left to us, it may be that somebody actually chooses to use your FeedBurner feed URL, the one you just deleted, in which case you run the risk of readers who are following you getting somebody else's content when they pick it up. So again, that's a reason not to keep it or not to delete it, because you know what, you want to control your branding. And even though that FeedBurner feed is just saying leave, resubscribe, because you're using FeedBlitz to tell people to do it, you're safeguarding your brand and your audience that's still out there and preventing it from being abused by, in a sense, by creating a zombie feed. And we have a post on zombie blogs at feedblitz.com if you want to check that out. So how to do it right? If you choose to delete, enable the migration message at FeedBurner at FeedBlitz first. I did it again. FeedBlitz first. You know, the naming thing seemed like a good idea when I started. Enable the FeedBurner migration message at FeedBlitz and make sure it shows up in your FeedBurner feed first. Okay. Secondly, when you do that, make sure that before you delete it, change the original feed details in FeedBurner to be your FeedBlitz feed. That way, when FeedBurner starts the deletion process, it's going to still keep on getting that migration message and not going to revert straight to your source. And then do the 30-day migration technology, even though it's only really 15. Do that. Don't delete it immediately. Give people time, anybody left on that FeedBurner feed, to make the change you want them to make. Now, if you deleted your FeedBurner feed too soon, well, there's good news. You can actually probably get your feed right back. You'll have lost your metrics and the email subscribers, but you can still reclaim it back. Simply go back and burn the feed again using the same URI, the same, essentially the same FeedBurner URL you had before. Odds are somebody else won't actually have claimed it in the time since you deleted it, and you'll have a chance to get it back and re-enable it. So you can do that, and that will actually bring your RSS audience back too. It'll give you the chance to migrate them properly using the techniques I've been outlining in this particular presentation. Finally, some troubleshooting tips. We do see problems with caches. If your feed seems to be slow to update, check out the caching you have involved. If you have problems with articles not appearing or the feed appearing to be stuck, you may have a problem that involves a cache or another third-party plugin. If you can't fix it readily by looking at the caches and checking your settings, do contact FeedBlitz support by email, support at feedblitz.com or at feedblitz on Twitter. You can also reach us during business hours, US Eastern Time, by phone, 9 to 5. And the phone number is on the contact link at feedblitz.com. We find pretty typically that most migrations work very successfully, and once you've made this migration, you're actually then able to explore FeedBlitz much more thoroughly and to look at the other features and benefits that we have. For example, you can add advertising back to your emails and to your feeds, which enables you to monetize those mailings. And some of our larger customers are actually making a significant amount of money every month with our RSS and email-based ad service. You can add more graphics. You can create a much more involved template. You can add multiple feeds to your mailings, and you can get really, really creative. So, and one of the things that you can do once you've made this change is really roll up your sleeves and add a lot more value and richness to your subscriber base. We have a separate manual available at feedblitz.com. If you click the blog link at the website and look in the right-hand sidebar, there's a PDF. It's free. It's called Making the Most of FeedBlitz, and it's well worth a download once you start because it'll show you some of the advanced capabilities that we have, and you can think about which ones you want to take on first. You can make this as much work as you want or as little. By the time you're done here, though, guarantee that you will have a feed that is better than your FeedBurner feed, a service that is more robust, and we'll have brought all of your settings over. So you'll be in great shape to move forward no matter what it is you choose to do. Okay, let's take some questions.